Hey, what's up, you guys?
If you're anything like me, then you love Disney, really wish you could be there right now, and are feeling inadequate for not being productive enough during quarantine. So, what's a squirrel gonna do except get back on that video grind, baby? Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, I'm sure all 29 of you are thinking, oh, well, Rise of the Resistance opened a while ago. Is this gonna be about that? Or maybe, hey, Runaway Railway has a lot of cool effects. Maybe you made something about that.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
You see, like any good little Disney nerd boy, I've been reading Joe Rohde's Instagram posts like they're the Bible. And one post in particular caught my attention. While walking his followers through a virtual tour of Animal Kingdom, he wrote about the importance of bridges as both literal transitions between areas and mental transitions for guests, and that got me thinking, you know, I have a great appreciation for art history thanks to an amazing high school class, shout out to Mr. Nickel, and if I recall correctly, the oft-forgotten churches of old seemed to do a similar thing with their design.
Is Disney just using a centuries-old design tactic in their parks? Stay tuned to find out exactly why Disney parks and churches are designed the same way.
The thing that ties Disney parks to old churches is something called a narthex. No, not Marth's X, a narthex. And to understand why and how this concept is used in Disney parks, we need to look at how they were used centuries ago in medieval churches. It all started around the 4th century CE when your boy Constantine finally gave in to the masses and legalized Christianity. Folks were super jazzed to finally be allowed to chill with God on a more professional level, but realized they were going to need some killer clubhouses to hang out at together, so the churches got bigger and taller, and they all started to take on a certain look. Early Christian, Byzantine, and Orthodox churches adopted the cruciform style of church. In order to avoid an hours-long digression into early Western church architecture, I'll just get to the point. At the western end of the church was a small porch between the main doors to the church and the main worship space, or nave of the church, and this porch is called the narthex. The narthex was traditionally a space for people who weren't actually members of the congregation to kinda just chill in the back and still hear the good word, but over time, its purpose changed from physical to spiritual. As Western religions became less exclusive and shifted toward a more welcoming mindset, and more of the general public was allowed to be a part of the congregation, the narthex began to represent a transition. The inside of the church represented being close to God, while the exterior represented the rest of this sick, nasty world. So the narthex was like a kind of buffer space between the holy and the unholy. Members of the congregation would enter through the western doors into the narthex, and then through another opening into the nave once they had transitioned into a holy mindset. So the narthex was a kind of subconscious reminder to people, just like, hey, y'all in church now, so you best behave and be thinking about Christ, okay? And that's where we come to Disney. If you've seen my Instagram account, then you'll know that I love looking at the transition areas between lands, like this one, between Frontierland and Galaxy's Edge. The transition points between the lands, bridges included, are just like the narthexes of the Disney parks. See? I told you they were the same. But this is where some Imagineering magic really comes in handy. Transitioning between lands can be a tough thing to do. Walt always liked to compare walking through a Disney park to being in a movie. Imagineers had to know how to frame the shot up just right, or create the emotion they wanted in a certain area. And just like how a movie transitions between scenes,
Hey, it's tonight!
So does a park transition between lands. Maybe you want a jump cut straight from one scene to the next, or perhaps something a little more gradual, like a crossfade. The way Imagineers visually design these key transition areas is completely intentional and designed to produce a specific reaction in guests. For example, here's that tunnel between Frontierland and Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. How does this tell the guests that they're leaving one area and entering another without them even knowing it? If we're walking from Galaxy's Edge into Frontierland, what do we see? Well, let's start big. What's the backdrop for this scene change? The walls. The walls on the Galaxy's Edge side are a geometric ribbed pattern that looks like some futuristic tunnel-digging machine made them. On the other side of the tunnel, the walls are completely wooden and supported with large timber beams. Let's look closer. The sconces on the wall change from these rusted, odd-looking, scalloped light fixtures to familiar Old Western lanterns. And just like walking through the narthex of a basilica, you experience an external change, but more importantly, you experience an internal change. Suddenly, you're not thinking about your time at the cantina, or how if you could only find some true fans, you could go unlock Chewy mode on Smuggler's Run. But maybe you're slightly more aware of the heat now. You feel a little cozier and at home with the warm glow of the lanterns, and the busted wagon on the side of the road tells you this isn't a densely packed outpost anymore, but the Old West. You're primed and ready to experience a new setting without dealing with the shock of going from an intergalactic outpost to a desert in the Old West. And this is just one example. You literally cannot move between lands without passing through a carefully thought out transition area. Even the hub is a transition area. From the hub, you can see almost every land in the park all at once, and even though they shouldn't all blend together, they do, symbolizing the uniformity of the park and Walt's vision. I mean, the Partners statue is right in the center of the hub, and if that doesn't scream unity, then I don't know what will. So the next time you're walking through a Disney park, and I really hope that's soon, take a moment to look around you and notice the subtle details. A change in what you're walking on, new music, different decorations. And notice how you feel as you enter a new land. Are you excited to be there? Relaxed? Curious? Does the air smell different? What can you see? What can't you see? Think about these things, and you never know what you might notice. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, then make sure to leave a like and click subscribe if you haven't already. You can find my previous videos at the links on the screen, and let me know what you'd like to see next in the comments below.